guest is Chris Finan from ABFFE. It's just a fun word to say, isn't it? ABFFE. It rolls off the tongue. ABFFE is the American Booksellers for Freedom of Expression. Chris is the president of
He already stole my line, which is that our name stinks, our acronym is worse.
So Chris, what is ABFFE?
ABFFE is the American Booksellers Foundation for Free Expression, and it was not named for publicity, and there has been a controversy on my board probably since ABFFE started in 1990 between those who say ABFFE and those who say ABFFE. We were established by the American Booksellers Association, as I said, 1990, and we are sponsored by the American Booksellers Association. But I'm here to deliver one key message today, which is that we are not supported by the American Booksellers Association. We are separate from ABA, and we have our own membership, and we need members. And ABFFE is basically for membership fees starting at $50, about the cheapest form of business insurance that you can have. We are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you have a problem. And believe it or not, First Amendment problems crop up in bookstores on a frequent basis, whether it's a policeman coming in and handing you a subpoena for customer information, or a controversial book signing, as there have been several just this year, in which the booksellers took tremendous heat for the people that they brought into their stores, to simply complaints from individual customers about materials that you do have or materials that you don't have. We are there to counsel you and to support you in what are often difficult times. And we also are we've gotten into this controversy about protecting reader privacy. It actually precedes the Patriot Act. It started when Kenneth Starr attempted to subpoena Monica Lewinsky's book purchase records from Kramer Books in Washington, and also a Barnes & Noble store in Georgetown. And we believe that subpoena threatened customer privacy. We thought it would have a chilling effect on customers because they would be afraid that the government could easily find out what they were reading and then not feel free to read what they wanted to. A couple years later, police in Denver showed up with a search warrant for the Tattered Cover bookstore and walked into a Stonewall named Joyce Meskis, and in a case that over the next 2 years was fought all the way up to the Supreme Court of Colorado, which unanimously quashed the search warrant and ended the possibility in the future that search warrants could be used. So we were very sensitive and sensitized when the Patriot Act was passed, and we found out that bookstores and libraries could be secretly searched by the FBI, that booksellers couldn't tell anybody about it, and that booksellers couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't. There was no legal recourse as there were in these other two cases. We have been fighting ever since then, so 8 years now, to try to get changes to restore safeguards for reader privacy that were eliminated. And we've made some real progress. 4 years ago, we got you the right to consult an attorney if you got a Patriot Act order. We also got the right to challenge Patriot Act orders for the first time in court. And now we're back at it, and I've handed all of you a letter that I hope you will send to your senators asking them to support the Justice Act of 2009, which is a bill that has been introduced in the Senate, which would limit, because the FBI can still come in and demand the records of anybody, any of your customers, on no showing that those people are engaged in criminal conduct, just simply because they claim that they're relevant to their investigation. We want to limit what the FBI can get to the records of people who are actually suspected of terrorism. And we think we have a good chance of getting that this year. We're in the last months of this fight, but we need your support, and we need you to write your senators and tell them that you care about this issue, because this is how we've made the progress that we have so far.
Seemingly unrelated, Chris, a case involving animal cruelty before the Supreme Court also has ramifications for First Amendment rights. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Often First Amendment fights are fought over rather unattractive issues, and this is one of them. Congress passed a law several years ago banning the sale of depictions of animal cruelty. And as a result of that, if you sell something that is a depiction of animal cruelty, that is a photo or an audio recording of animals being injured, you are subject to prosecution and on conviction could be sentenced to 5 years in prison. There is no, there is no way of knowing in advance really what exactly would trigger the law. There is an exemption for material with serious value, but what is serious value in this context is, does Death in the Afternoon, Ernest Hemingway's classic with dozens of photos of bullfighting, have serious value? I think we would all say yes, it does. But that doesn't stop a prosecutor from coming to a different conclusion and charging you with a federal crime. So we have gone to this case has now been appealed to the Supreme Court. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court is going to hear oral argument in this case. It's probably the most important free speech case involving books in 20 years. And it's not just important in this specific context, although I think we should all be worried about it in its specifics, but it's also the way the government is arguing. The government is saying, in trying to justify this law, that it should have the right to go in and ban material that lacks serious value. This is not the way the First Amendment works right now. Right now, there are very limited exceptions to the First Amendment. You don't have to worry about selling almost anything in your store. You don't have to worry because of its political content or its religious content or its social content. But the Justice Department is arguing that there are some kinds of speech that are so harmful that the government should be able to go in and regulate this. And that is the slipperiest of slopes. Once that happens, I think you all know, based on reactions to various materials in your store from time to time, that there are a lot of controversial things in your store that there are people in your community would love to see out of there. And that's the whole point of Banned Books Week. There were 500 challenges to books in schools and libraries last year. And there are people who will come forward and say that these materials are harmful. Our position is that that's not a bookseller's job. A bookseller's job is to sell the books that their customers want. And that's what we're trying to protect in this case, and we are holding our breath.
All right, Chris, finally, we've got a room full of booksellers here. Could you tell us a little bit about how we can help support your organization?
Well, Banned Books Week is really very important, and as I say, it's a form of self-insurance. It helps you establish a conversation with your customers about these issues. It helps them think about them, and they can be a reserve of support if you ever get in trouble. But I'll just bring it back to where I started and make a naked appeal for your support and your membership. There is a membership form on the back of that pamphlet that we distributed, and I hope to collect a lot of them here today. Thank you very much.